Confucius was sort of one of who along with Confucius was sort of one of the big the big names in early Chinese philosophical thought. So welfare. Mencius said, there is proof humans are good. Even a criminal coming across a baby perched near the edge of a well will snatch the baby back without a thought. Then again, he was around in 300 BCE. You could save a baby then, without everyone asking, what the hell? Who are you to save that baby? There's paperwork associated with that baby. Do you know how much that baby is worth? Mencius's criminal lived in the Warring States period, a good, well-defined time for folks. Criminals were criminals, peasants were peasants, the rich were rich, yes, even then, and anyone could just walk around thoughtlessly saving babies. Okay. All right, and so from here on out, it's all new stuff, so please bear with me. Um, so this first new one is called After the Interpreter No Shows at the Community Meeting. The impromptu translator steps in to help with our icebreaker. What's your favorite pie? Her white lace top with blue embroidered border and her Mexican Spanish become the center of the room then. And when, on my behalf, she starts to explain apple crisp with a crumbled top, she holds her hand out, fingers steepled down over the conference table, and she rubs the tips together like she's sprinkling oats and sugar on this pastry almost ready for the oven of my imagination. Manzana, manzana, manzana. Okay, and let's see. Ah, and this next poem is bird watching in Memden, New Jersey, which there's a twice annual writing retreat at a convent there with Maria Mazziotti Gillen and Kevin Carey. So I know we have ravens back in Salem, but I've never seen any. Flap of a black wing, grackle, starling, common crow, too small, call higher pitched and smooth. A linguist friend once told me that in the Midwest they have a term for the sad strip of suburban grass between the sidewalk and street, tree lawn. Now that you know, he said gleefully, you can never look at it again without thinking of the word. He was entirely right. Another category born into the world of my mind, overgrown and crowding out possibility. I never looked twice at a bird growing up. Couldn't tell sparrow from wren from chickadee. They were just symbols to me, good for poems like quasars or neap tides. Then my friend pointed out a white-breasted nuthatch. I downloaded a birding app, and now I can't help looking for them. Catbird, titmouse, junco. I want to know the winged bits of the world one by one. Adam, Linnaeus, Darwin, Saussure. Once the naming starts, it never stops. There's no way back to boundlessness. Sisyphus's boulder rolls easiest downhill, but I keep looking up anyways at so much sky. And today I saw a raven. I had no doubt. Hoarse, raucous, singing in a language I couldn't put words to, yet I swear I knew it. And I could go on listening until I croak. I want you to know I'm really ashamed of the ending of that poem, but the challenge was to write a poem that ends in a pun. I had to commit, so. All right. A haiku on loss. At the movies alone, plenty of popcorn left over. Walking downtown in the city of witches. It's Saturday of the strawberry moon, and Venus is up there someplace, visible and naked if you know where to look. I don't know where to look. I just overheard it from a Zodiac girlie at dunks between beeps in the steamer's long hiss. Heading up Washington, I don't see anything but blue. And below the bustle of visitors, the faded green of bike lanes, and the sun resting between mismatched buildings. I know very little about the planets, besides their names and Kepler's law of motion, one of the things Mr. Rogers, long burned out high school physics teacher, taught me between lectures on his favorite TV shows and current trends in shoe fashion. This city has its own set of laws. A tour group in motion never stays in motion. The ratio between crowd and sidewalk size is always negative. The shortest distance between 2 points is in direct correlation to date and distance from Essex. Even locals have yet to master this mathematics. But I slip around Midwestern window gawkers and mid-road picture takers, the celestial bodies, timeless, not totally unlike gods, in a riot of motion above me. And about this next one, you know what? I think there might be a bit of an echo.
What's going on?
Somebody's not muted. Everybody. Everyone mute.
Right, did that take care of it? I think we're good now. Okay. So for this next one, I'll just say I had an extremely busy year. I was teaching full time and then also taking more than a full-time load of classes, trying to finish up another degree. So but I've made it through. But this poem is about that. So, strange parenthood. My to-do list has grown so long and complex, it sprouted gangly offshoots like teenage limbs and gained sentience. Soon it's going to walk off the page and right out the door. What could it possibly be doing out there, unsupervised in the New England cold? I think it should stay at home a little longer, stay safe. But to be honest, we're getting on each other's nerves. Clean this up, I yell, crossing things off. Why can't you just do things when I ask? I sound like my mother. I watch my list slam doors, huff in the corner. It gives me the silent treatment as it drops smugly a few more bullet points like crumbs to the floor. Okay, and let's say this one is from this morning, so deadly. The best part of staying up to date on global affairs, besides having something to do in the middle of the night to keep busy, and besides sounding worldly at work parties, so long as no actual experts with their poorly fitted tops, crushing debt, and over-enunciated interjections come to show you up, is learning in real time about everything the earth is brewing up to kill us. Why, just right now, there's super El Nino, hantavirus, possibly imaginary drones from Cuba, and whispers about new wars with countries that I wasn't even thinking about until YouTube Shorts or the New York Times sounded the alarm. Yesterday, I caught an hour-long special on National Public Radio about mold spores set loose by wildfires, dancing along in updrafts of smoke to infect burn victims' wounds weeks later. In evolutionary theory, it's agreed that perception does not develop to represent reality. Mistake a rope for a snake 100 times, and yes, your friends might start to notice, maybe laugh at you a little. But mistake a snake for a rope once, and well, that's that. There goes eternity, slithering off without you. And let's see. This next one, the title is from Andrea Gibson, Double Suffering. First, there is ink, then words written in ink. First, there is hello, and then more to the story. Everything follows. So much talk about philosophy, poetry. Late nights, then lazy mornings. First buds, then nature does what it does. Until it gets tired. And isn't there always some last stays, last ends? First, there are rages, then silences. First, there is friction, then the blister. First, there is a pinprick, and then the stars start to spill out. What did you think you were waiting for? Let's see. Another haiku on loss. 80 days later, doom scrolling Insta, you pop up in suggested. And then this next poem is after Frank O'Hara. Uh, um, the sun gets sick of me. Good morning, sun, I say after waking. I have a couple questions. No reply. Is he sleeping? Hard to tell from here. If you have a minute, that is. Nothing. But I think I see a flicker in the corner of my eye, some shrug or solar flare traveling across space to seed a heat wave in Japan or evaporate a Peruvian lake. It's just some things about the universe I figure you might know being up there and all. I never could stand awkward silences. I'm asking for my new poem. I try not to sound too puffed up about it. I'm not sure I manage. Who wouldn't want to be part of my poems? But still he doesn't answer. He just hangs up there, burning the sky. Artist's statement. I know, I'm sorry, I got about I think I'm gonna do maybe got about 3 minutes. I'll probably do maybe three more. So, artist statement. A dog who pees in the house leaves messages for just himself. Get this one. Let's see. Okay. All right. And I think I have time for these last two. So, actually, you know what? I'm just going to do this last one for now. Okay. Peas in the house. Like peas like the little green things. My mother was a whiz at cooking pork chops that tasted of turpentine, seasoning canned mushrooms with the iodized salt, or rehydrating minute potato flakes with store-brand margarine. She knew I should be eating my vegetables, but the knowing and the doing and the making me do was a nightmare for us both. What I hated most was microwaved peas from Frozen in an indulgently large blue plastic bowl. I couldn't get up from the table until I finished that green tacky mush, which tasted about the same, I thought, as a dirty linoleum floor must. It became a test of two wills. Me whining in the kitchen, and my mother across from me, determined to prove her parenting skills. Damn Angela, who loved broccoli and told all the adults all about it. Eventually, to save us both, I learned to swallow them whole, heaping spoonfuls of the gross little things washed down with skim milk, barely tasted, then put behind me. The lesson was a good one, though it took me many years to be grateful for it. Right. Thank you very much, everyone. And thanks again for having me.
Thank you, MP Carver. That was a nice selection. I'm sure that I noticed a number of people were making comments on some of your excellent lines there. Next featured poet alphabetically will be Timothy Gager. He almost doesn't need an introduction, but I'll give him one anyway. He's the author of 20 books of fiction and poetry, which includes his fourth novel, Shadows of the Scene, and his most recent collection of poetry, Almost Bluing for X-Tra Whiteness. He has had over 1,000 works of fiction and poetry published, and his work has also been nominated for the Massachusetts Book Award, the Best of the Web, and the Best Small Fictions Anthology. Please give a nice warm round of applause for Timothy Gager.
Thank you, Harris. Great reading, MP. And I really look forward to hearing Lawrence's work. I'm going to read some poems that are going to appear in a poetry book that's coming out in the next month or so called These New Orbs, put out by Pierian Springs Press. These new orbs. They float by the window, these new orbs. They were supposed to be the future, but instead they the forgotten ghosts in our sudden frigid apartment, as cold as waiting for someone to remember you. She laughed about it at first, how the orbs danced in the corner. We made up names for them, Penelope and Alexander, and the one that always flickers we called Maybe. Are they reflections of old lives slipped through the walls, or echoes of the two of us, a shape with no sound and no regret for any mistakes? They are the things that never apologize, then vanish when we conclude they're only static from the satellite dish. I know ghosts should look like cotton sheets over children, or the haze of a summer memory when we were young enough to believe anything. But then they are back, because we believed the wind can suddenly appear. As doors blown wide open, these orbs return without touching, their spirit finally having the chance to haunt us properly. And then she tells me, maybe that's the way we are, drifting on the edge of what was once real, transparent and pale. Will they stay or leave, she asks. Then, what will we do? This, then, is loveliness. You love Dylan Thomas, not the poems, but his complicated stories. And when your father died, you didn't know what to do without him, and you walked down the middle of the street in 100-degree heat with his t-shirt, which soaked through, anointing you. When you felt all those holes opening inside, you went silent and had to move so that you'd prevent scar tissue from being born. It's just that standing still in sad places prevents you from any potential joy, which may strike at any time. And when you go away, you run from things which become stagnant, home and work, love and laughter. The cure being new homes and new laughter with lots of work to do on the rest, more than you can leap or dance to. My dear, if you tilt your head while in arabesque position, you will see the stars. They will sit pretty on their shelf, blinking at you, but heavy, like the weight of the boy who crushed your heart unexpectedly. You fell from the sky into darkness. So you drove, wanting to close your eyes, to take your hands off the wheel, because that boy was only a sharp turn on a steep mountain road you coasted down, gliding easy until you struck the goddamn ox that popped up blindly on the bend, slaying it. Oh, dear ox, you never meant for this to happen. Oh, dear, you never wished to feel this sad again, but not for long. The rage, the stars, the stars. It is like it always is, my dear. It is the aim and the end. That, then, you, the loveliness harvested out of love, out of confusion, out of grief, you walk toward a cedar elm. The gimbal for my father. There's an echo when the gyroscope hums, a ballet of axis and twirling, poised like a thought balanced on the tip of the tongue. My father once held the world this way. His genius spun a trembling orb, his life kept in the balance at bay. In the think tank, brains cracked like knuckles, eggheads dancing under lamplight. Equilibrium is earned, not given. He tightened the twine with his fingers, calloused with persistence, winding so I could see the apparatus leaning against the pole. Round rotation, resisting collapse. The language of failing couldn't compete. I see now how the world spun itself thin, engineering the capacity for defense, keeping nuclear warheads aligned on his radar, a life, a fulcrum, a delicate balance. Another blip in his Cold War
Ready
night,
to update macOS on your Mac?
humming, alert
Here's
to
how
the
to get the
stars,
latest features
a
and
silent
security.
watch against all unseen threats, defending us from what we couldn't know, like the gyroscope spinning to find its center within the tremors. Losses. I thought we would bond over our losses of fathers. Same cause, died the same year, but we didn't. I wanted to. We reminded each other of grief instead. It brought back this memory I had forgotten. Going to a therapist after my friend hung himself. He left a note, come on over, so I could find him there. He trusted me in that role. You've had a lot of losses, the therapist said, sighing, fucking frowning, showing empathy. I wanted to smack that off his face. I didn't come for that. I came so the pain would go away. The stars who refused to burn out after Andrea Gibson and my father. Charles H. Gager, my father, didn't view stars for pleasure. He saw everything. Discovering missiles on radar was his war, a screen full of dots that could mean nothing or the entire world to others, sleeping soundly without being woken by sirens. I didn't know the poet, who also no longer shines. Some nights I swear they're both up there, not missiles or even ghosts, but stars, not that far away, just further than I can reach. Last night I stared so hard at the stars I thought one might fall just to avoid eye contact, blinking like survivors, not twinkling, just twitching like they knew what it meant to be looked at too long. Or maybe the stars are past lovers teaching me lessons on how to stay. I know people like I know stars can be held together by gravity and guesswork, lighting up night sky for all who search. I've seen addicts name their hopes after galaxies, watched a woman on the Orange Line whisper Orion under her breath like it was the name of a god that hadn't given up on her yet. But the stars don't fix people. They sit with you, silent as good friends at funerals, presenting quiet truth, never needing to shout to those not burning out is enough. Reply to someone who's had a lifetime of losses. You deserve to no longer breathe in carpenter ants. The losses are like riding wild mustangs. Sometimes you're thrown back on the horse. You've always hated that maxim. They say the gate is open, the land so unlimited. Sometimes you wish to lie down, weep in the dust forever, the cactus, the dirt on your dress. But you'd much rather walk forever or become a dirtbagger, sometimes getting as close as the wild horses will let you. Try to breathe in kindness. It's the mustangs that always run. The put-away orbs. This is a pickleball poem. Notice the perforated first ball, lifted, balanced, her breath before the paddles crack, heard now, provocative, exhaled, then impact, then absence. Maybe it will rest for me after floating, whispering across the no-volley zone, drop dead in the sunlit square unanswered, the slam and sliced blur, my paddle waving like a high five left hanging. There's the sound of it whizzing past, ending the way all winners end, the dancing orb, playful, bouncing, rolling away and away and away, slowing and stopping, still perfectly round against the fence. All of them are at rest, after they were slammed, sliced, ending up again and again and again, rolling again and again. I long for you still. Stellar core. She then sits on the porch, staring at the stars, cool night brushing her bare legs. She thought of her parents, of the last conversation she'd had before leaving, things she said about them, about the life they'd built she couldn't take back. It's just the way things are. You can't change it. Her face resigned. Eyes light had left them. She knows the stars have existed before her and will exist well after she is gone. Imagine the orb at the center of the star, deep into its core, so heavy, keeping everything else in orbit yet hidden. The nuclear fissure reaction, the energy that makes them shine. In this darkness, she saw a small bird flutter in spasms, weak from flight, saw it crash softly into the grass. For a moment, she stayed still, watching it struggle to right itself. The effort, substantial, overwhelming, it gave up, tucked its wings in, and closed its eyes. This is a poem about Star Island. It's a wonderful little place, a couple miles outside of New Hampshire. And people go and they have conferences there and they bring their families and their kids grow up there, usually the same weeks every year. The island waits. Star Island's not a metaphor, but it lies like one in union. Its chapel holds echoes, the stone walls mortared by us and our ghosts, who greet us like each new tide. The pews crack in winter, sitting when no one's here, waiting like how the night's breeze clings to your skin in the residue of today's exhales. Children tear through the dusk like gulls, vanishing only to return older. They come back taller, brighter, as if they've won at hide and seek, the rocks seizing their footprints like fossils. Listen, our names are held by the salt wind, each syllable pronounced in the waves. There the quietness is communion, the near silence a comfort, a meditation, not loneliness, but still there's a chance you won't come back. No one can stop a sunset, except you will, since the rocks have heard your names, captured as mnemonics. Today, when you remove the pebble from your pocket, memorize the sound as you drop it in the water. What we do with darkness. When it's dormant, all I hear is your breath, slow, steady, like any promise I'm too scared to give. I once kissed the edge of your jaw, where a sliver of light fell on your skin, as if it was always there in the quiet darkness of the world, which never would know us. Now I know there was more to that, yet I wanted to escape, never to come back, just driving the night away from you till the morning, to hear that way you laughed, a gust which made peace with it. I've got two more. This one's called We, W-E. If we could, you, me, plus all consciousness, rearrange the sky, we'd thumbtack the sun besides the moon, tilt both mouths open like a baby's and call them ours. This is only a small piece of the universe, being parallel in squiggly lines from these new orbs which circle our favorite places, the porch where you find your father's laugh, the quiet twist of a shy smile which shatters glass, the echo of the voice we forgot to make apologies with. These new orbs are heaven, but quietly more, even carrying the words we never use in poems, the word love, but never the word love, new words instead. Words for the dust left in the corner on a baby's sock behind the couch. Words hiding in shadows, in ghosts, in the enamored nickname I never called you, which floats within sunlight. Floats. We float. Floating with the dead, not above, but through. Somehow then they are no longer dead. They are like the accumulation of some other universe, pressing its thumbprint on the steam hung on the bathroom's mirror. Inside the fog, there is a murmur barely heard. We were here. We are still here. And this new sky, it hums with a litter of tiny orbs which tap our shoulder bones. Look, look, there are little pieces of me in all of them, slivered away when you look into my eyes, as if it was billions staring at me while I was being pulled into your oculus. See, we are still here. I'm telling you, love is found within these new orbs, even if we are left far below without any tools of telepathy, but with a brain that whispers to you, and you to it, and us to you, and me to you. Hear it? It's saying, don't stop wishing to the sky. These new orbs are you in love after you stopped looking. These new orbs I created for you. And the last piece, which winks back to many of the previous pieces. This, then, again. You walked down the street, a heat wave swallowed you whole. You drove. You wished to close your eyes. You didn't wish, the stars blinked. The ox appeared. You never meant for this to happen. But it was struck. The rage, the stars, the end. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Tim. That was a wonderful group. We're having a wonderful evening of high quality poetry as promised. In fact, I think a lot of people have been putting comments in chat. So when we're through, and maybe before we go to the open mic, we'll spend a few minutes in case anybody has comments for any of the featured poets. So our final feature of the evening, again, is well known. Lawrence Kessenich won the Strokestown International Poetry Prize in Ireland in 2010, which is a major international prize. His poetry has appeared in the Sewanee Review, Atlanta Review, Poetry Island Review, and many other magazines. He's published 5 books of poetry, 3 novels, short stories, essays, and has had short plays performed at many drama festivals. So we've had many prolific features tonight. Please welcome Lawrence Kessenich.
Thank you, Harris. And Harris, I think you need to mute so we don't have an echo there.
I hear you.
I think you need to mute because I'm hearing an echo. I don't know if anybody else is. Anyway, thank you to Harris and to Gloria for inviting me tonight. Thanks to Steve for recording this. A lot of members of my family who couldn't make it tonight who really want to see this reading. So I'm going to start with a poem. This grows out of, I don't know if you're as fascinated as I am by standing on the beach and looking at the horizon, but it's, I can't get this to open, I'm sorry. Okay, there we go, sorry. I love that line, that horizon line is just an amazing thing. And this is a poem about experiencing that once. It's called Between Worlds. Aim for that little bit of darkness below the horizon. It is there that contradictions coalesce, that beggars discover silver coins submerged in black puddles. There that the earth opens and pours forth white blossoms from its depths. There lies the boundary between day and night, life and death, body and spirit, the passage from known to unknown. Yet, I think we do know, though we pretend not to. Children hiding in a wardrobe in a sunlit room, afraid that if we fling open the door, the light will expose us, reveal our bodies hanging on us like outworn clothes, that we will crave light bodies, leaving our clothing behind. I actually get a surprising number of I'm sorry, it's the wrong one. Next poem. This is another one that has a spiritual bent to it. My wife, Janet, who's on here tonight, does a lot of workshops up at a retreat center called Rolling Ridge in North Andover. And they have a labyrinth in the woods. And this was an experience I had walking that labyrinth one time. Epiphany. I walked a labyrinth in the woods today, staring at the earth before my feet as I stepped carefully over the thick gray roots snaking across my path. And it came to me that I too was of the earth, as if formed from it, like the creation story where God breathes into a fistful of clay and a man walks across the soil that bore him, searching for himself. And the curves of the labyrinth took me deep into my heart and soul, the breath of God in me as I breathe steadily in and out, as I walk steadily, slow step by slow step, inward toward the center of the labyrinth, the center of myself. When I reached it, it was marked by the trunk of a tree growing up out of the earth, branches reaching for sky. At its base lay a painted stone with the word love written on it. And then it came to me that this was what propelled me on my journey through life, what made it possible for me to appreciate the lumpy clay of my body, to take heart and live soulfully. the love my parents gave me as a child, that my wife and children and siblings give me now, that because of them, I can give to others. Love is all you need, says the song, and while it may not be all, it is food and drink for the soul, and I believe for this body made of clay. I get a surprising number of ideas for poems from things I see at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, which is just a marvelous museum. And this one I got from it was a show of pottery made by slaves. I think it's in North Carolina. I forget for sure. And there's an epigraph to the poem, Potter Once Known, description of slave maker of pottery at the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston. The poem is called The Creator. Not unknown or anonymous, not a nobody, a father, a brother, a husband, a lover of other human beings and clay. Like God in the story, he shaped things with clay. Not people, that was God's work, but objects, object art, useful vessels and whimsical ones, laughing through the pain caused by men who saw him as nothing more than an object to be traded or sold, a soulless thing. But he could not contain his soul. His spirit boiled over into the clay. He knew it and it knew him. Without him, the clay was a shapeless mass. He gave it shape and form and grace, infused it with his life force. Perhaps then, not so different from God.
Mm.
Another thing I'm inspired by are historical events. I read a lot of, I don't know, for some reason this isn't opening. I read a lot of history, and this is from a book about the German invasion of Russia in World War II. And this is one of the things that was stated in the book is the epigraph. Italy sent 62,000 soldiers to fight with the Germans in Russia in 1941. Operation Barbarossa. It began with the German soldiers, so grim, so serious, so disconnected from La Dolce Vita. We arrived joking and laughing, but the look in their piercing blue eyes shot us down quickly. We unpacked our thin Mediterranean tents, put them up on the deep, characterless snow. As we did, the cold began to sink into our bones, unrelieved by the low, hazy sun that seemed to mock our need for warmth. Vodka gave us semblance, but in the frigid nights we dreamed of the Italian sun blazing on a field of sunflowers, heating the rock ledges of the Amalfi Coast, warming the fountains of Rome, and awoke to a nightmare of ice and violence, for the Russians were stealthy and brutal. We were invading their land when all we wanted was to return to our own. And when our soldiers died, they died in the arms of lovers back home, olive-skinned, radiant, beautifully warm.
Mm.
Thank you. Now for something a little lighter. The last four poems I'm reading are going to be things about different people in different parts of my family. And this one is about my brother Bill, who is on, I think, tonight. He was on earlier. I hope he's still here. When we were small boys, we were just a year apart, and we were always called Irish twins. People often thought we were twins. Saturday night bath. Sitting in the tub with my brother Bill, I feel the water from the spigot run down my back as my mother adds more. We rub a bar of dial soap on wash rags of nubbly cotton, beige suds discoloring the rags. We wash face, hands, chest, feet, that funny thing between our legs. Mom washes our backs, then leaves us to play in the water with plastic boats and cups. Bill and I pour water over each other, careful to keep it out of eyes. Sometimes we get bubbles, which adds a whole new dimension to our play. We pile it on our heads, make beards, hide things beneath the icebergs of froth. Our companionship is the kind only siblings can have, unthinkingly comfortable, as if part of one another. The Saturday night bath, a ritual that cements the bond forged in our shared double bed, with its mattress bowed so deeply in the middle that we end up back to back. And then another family member who's on tonight is my lovely wife, Janet. And this is a poem for her. She once played Brahms like an angel. When we were courting, I would listen from the next room as she began to play, sailing into the music like a sea captain launching a proud ship on a glorious morning. In slow passages, she would caress the keys. In fast ones, her hands leapt across the keyboard, letting the tiger out of the cage, as her wise Chinese teacher urged her to do. I was amazed that the woman I loved had such stunning talent, for me a powerful attraction, that I was privileged with private concerts, lifting my spirits like a sailboat on the waves. 2 decades later, she stopped playing, not because she couldn't, but because she was no longer a musician. She had become a healer, hands hovering over people instead of keys. I missed the music, of course, and at first I felt like the victim of a bait and switch. But love is wanting what the beloved wants, and she wanted to heal more than she wanted to play Brahms. The piano finally left our home last year, having hung on as a souvenir of the past for at least a decade longer than it was played. The house is literally lighter now, and her music still sings in my heart. And this is, believe it or not, this is based on a true story about my nephew. My nephew says no to Taylor Swift. Not perhaps his swiftest move. She was the good friend of a friend's sister. They met at the friend's house over beers long before she was the billionaire celeb she is today. A young singer with a modest reputation in country and western. She was cute and he was a musician, and she said he liked his dimples. But all the women liked his dimples, and she wasn't his type, and he didn't like her music. So he didn't get on that fast train to success, if in fact that's what it would have been. But he's still a musician, writes songs and has a band, though ultimately, the business being what it is, his biggest claim to fame might be saying no to Taylor Swift. And appropriately, since Tim read one for his father, I'm going to end with one about my father. It's called Good Hands. My father's long fingers were thick as rolls of quarters, but deft enough to change a diaper or lift a hair from a 2-year-old's eyes. His hands held me up as I learned to swim at Lake Danoon, lifted me to reach the monkey bars at St. Monica's playground, held the bat with me as I tried to hit a baseball at Clutch Park. His wide hands could also whack my butt quickly and sharply when I misbehaved, and he once raised a fist to hit me when I pushed him too far in the 60s, a threat he couldn't carry out, breaking down in tears. I remember those huge hands covering his face at his father's funeral, guiding an aged neighbor to her seat at church. Those hands dished out food for the homeless at St. Ben's, wrote Christmas checks for relatives in hard times, lifted each new grandchild as if he or she were a gift from a most generous God. A football player who catches passes consistently is said to have good hands, and my father was nothing if not consistent. He did good with his hands whenever, wherever, however he could. Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence. Well, that was another, uh, you, you sort of brought up the penultimate grouping, and everybody had wonderful lines, wonderful imagery, wonderful narration. It was a very exciting evening from my perspective, anyway, and I think from everybody else's.